The recently introduced gang patch ban, there has already been some pushback, some government officials saying, oh gosh, it's going to be successful, but a lot of concern, particularly amongst those who work in gang communities. An individual who, well, he's from that particular background and lifestyle, but now is involved with a wonderful organisation called Kingdom Ministries. Lucky Te Koha joins us now. Lucky, kia ora, thanks for your time today.
Kia ora. Kia ora.
Firstly, from your point of view, the gang patch ban, is it going to work or is it just going to cause problems? What's your thoughts?
Okay, well, the simple answer to it is no, it's not going to work. If you look at it like this, so when men go to prison, no one's got a patch on. Yep. Does that mean they're not gang members anymore? It's that simple. It doesn't mean anything. They think that it's going to just encourage people joining the clubs. I'll tell you right now that less than 5% of men join the club and stay in it because if they're only for the patch, because what they have to deliver is beyond them.
Yeah.
And everything, they have nothing to bring because it's about the patch. Well, most gang members aren't about that. That's their club, that's their team, but they don't join for that. They join for camaraderie, brotherhood, and birds of the feather do flock together. And as we all know, most of us come from state care. And as you know, abuse in state care was huge. It was 80% of gang members. They proved that last year in the Royal Commission in February.
Yeah.
So they come from that background. So the patch is just it's just like a team jacket. You'll die. A lot of them will die for it.
Yep.
But take it away, the club is still going to be there, and it'll continue to grow. It will never go backwards unless we do something properly to actually start bringing healing in that space.
In some ways, there are people that are commenting, well, gang members and gang members with patches, that's intimidating to the general population who perhaps don't understand the culture. So this is the government saying, well, look, this is to create a perception that people may feel more safe and that the government looks like they're being tough on crime and tough on gangs. But there's also people that say this is going to have the opposite effect. If anything, gang members are going to double down on the lifestyle rather than look for a different way of doing things.
Okay. Yeah, no. So yeah, maybe some people are intimidated by the gang patch. There has to be.
Yeah.
But those same people are going to be intimidated by me.
Yeah.
I'm a pastor. I'm a New Life senior pastor. I have cultural tattoos on my face and my head, on my throat.
Yeah.
They're going to find that intimidating. But that's part of my culture.
Yeah.
Culture that's been here for over 1,000 years. And so, regardless of whether I have any of that on, some people will be intimidated by a man that's bigger than them.
Yeah.
Or how he might be dressed without having a gang patch on. So, you know what I mean? It's do we have the right to make everybody the same then? Should we make everybody look the same?
Yeah, and
when's that coming in? Should we all dress in blue suits and blue ties like National does? So is that
Exactly.
Where do we draw the line? When does a Jesus T-shirt become offensive?
Yeah.
And we're going to get rid of that. When does that happen? Believe me, that's coming. If we can get rid of the patches of gangs, some of the toughest people in this country. When are people going to say, actually, I find that Jesus T-shirt offensive? I'm Muslim, and 5 of my friends, we find it offensive. Let's get rid of that off Facebook.
Yeah. So
all the church services are gone because it's offensive. Where do you draw the line?
I mean, this is unusual that it's not the criminal behaviour that is being targeted by police. It is the clothing that people wear. What's been the response from other people in the community now through the ministry that you lead, working with, a lot of gangs around the country? What's been the response? What's the feeling amongst people in the gangs, Lucky?
I guess it's different. And the difference I see is some of the younger guys, they're very passionate about their club and what they stand for. Yep. They're very, very passionate about it. And so nobody wants to have things dictated to them by a system or by a government. Nobody wants to. And so when you get force, people coming at you with force, that can only ever get met with force at some point. It has to. People aren't bowing down to having this. We all got rammed down our throat that we had to stay in our house for 4 weeks with COVID and you have to do this, this, and this. And, it's losing your choice. and your freedom of expression or speech.
Yeah.
And we're losing more and more. It's always getting out. We're losing liberations as we go.
Yeah.
And so some of the younger guys are saying, well, if no, I'll never have this taken off, and nobody's going to come and take it off.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I stand.
Yep.
But then you meet to some of the older patch members that have been there for, forever, and they're getting closer to 60s or 70s or whatever. They're saying, well, come on, maybe we need to look at it and fight this fight in a different way, because wisdom comes at different ages.
Yep.
And I'm not saying the younger guys are wrong or aren't wise, but their heart's different. And so it's going to be met with the same force given. They're going to get the same force back.
Yeah.
And I understand that because, I wasn't always 57.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It comes with that.
Yeah.
The one thing that I think that we need to be doing as in a whole is truly putting in the time and effort to navigate through this properly before this law got chucked in and saying, because it was scaremongering. The gangs are the crime, and crime's going through the roof because of gangs and all the rest of it. Crime's not going through the roof because of gangs. Some is, but most of it isn't. Crime is going through the roof because of it's not affordable for some families to live anymore. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So that comes back on the governing of this country. It doesn't come back on the gangs. It's things are getting out of reach for men and women, partners. I know families that have a husband and wife working huge hours, got kids, trying to pay a mortgage. They can't afford to live. Crime comes from that. And so as the further becoming to live properly and well gets further out of reach, crime comes more into reach. It's going to go up, the levels go up the same.
With the work that you do through Kingdom Ministries and Kingdom Brotherhood, gang patch bans don't work. What does work in your experience, Lucky, in terms of providing an alternative to a gang lifestyle and seeking real transformation and hope within these communities? Okay.
Well, in our Bible, we talk about restoration and reconciliation. So we need to realise, like I said, the Royal Commission found that the gangs came from state care, birthed out of there. So it is the state's obligation to put in the funds and put it right where we can first. Prison should be the last thing. It should be the last resort. But if we match dollar for dollar what goes into corrections and imprisonment into restoration and healing, mate, we're going to stop. Things in this country will be very, very different within 2 or 3 years if we match it. Instead of the imbalance of where it is, it's all going towards correction and imprisonment. Yep. This is all that they can come up with, right? So when those men get released, you've just got another aggressive man out on the street.
Yeah.
When we look at restoring and reconciling and bringing healing through dealing with their traumas is what we do. I see transformed men. Yeah. Transformed men, totally transformed. And people say, I don't believe that. Well, they don't have to. I'm standing in that space, but I welcome people, and I've taken police in there. I've taken all types of people in there to see the space that I'm talking about, and they can't deny it. So I started with 5 different chapters when we first started this 6 years ago. I'm now dealing with 32 chapters. Wow. So that's growing. Yeah. I don't go to anybody. They come to us and say, look, can you help us? And which is dealing with the trauma. We understand that we're broken. Yeah. I've done all these programs before I got saved, all these different programs the system made me do. None of them worked until I looked at the trauma and dealt with the trauma, because I had a person sitting across from me that was authentic, could understand me, who's been where I've been and has walked out. They're the ones that hold the keys. Yeah. So when we bring that and implement that, things will truly change.
With what you're saying there, instead of banning the gangs or, I suppose, looking tough on crime so that people in suburban neighbourhoods feel safe, dealing with the real issue, healing the brokenhearted in that space. And Lucky, perhaps because of your experience, and look, I wouldn't wish this on anyone I liked, but because of your experience, God has put you in a space where you have the background, where you have the mana and the respect within these communities to be able to speak some truth, to be able to have some tough conversations, but also able to offer hope.
Well, I came from that space for 50 years that I was in that space. And so, like I always say to people, if you want to learn how to build a house, you go to a builder. Yeah. If you want to learn how to change your life, you go to somebody that has. And so I guess that's, at the end of the day, that's where I stand now. It's come from, learned experience. It comes from being qualified in that position. It's qualified by experience. And so when you're standing with men like this, you have to be authentic. You have to be real. You can't be some, we call them peasants, that have never walked in this space, that can't engage with us. Like Paitoa says from the Manga Mob, the hard to reach are only hard to reach if the wrong person's trying to reach them.
Yeah, exactly.
So we need to be engaging and funding agencies that are working in that space. And that would do a lot, because like I said, for 6 years, I've never had a penny. We've never received one penny. What does get given to us comes from Kaikoura New Life and a number of other churches and people that see purpose in what we're doing. And they have been funding a lot of it. But, and this was their heart for restoration and reconciliations and changing generational traumas so we can go forward well together. Because, as we all know, if we lift up the people at the bottom, we all come up with them.
Yeah.
And so that's the heart of the churches, obviously. So, but when the government wants to and the system wants to look at and is serious about helping things in the space, then that will reflect how much they put into it.
Mm.
And at the moment, it's very, very little. 2.6 million is getting spent on this prison, a super prison.
Yeah.
Like if we put a third of that into restoring and healing these men, truly, things would truly change in this country very, very fast. I see men coming to our program that change over the weekend, and I have so many of them say it over a weekend, and yet I journey with them a whole year. I do 6 or 7 trauma conferences or seminars with them. Totally different men. I'm not saying we become angels, but the hurts and the rubbish we might have been carrying are gone, and we make better decisions and choices. Because when we're feeling better inside, I always say to them, if you want your children to reach their full potential, you have to reach yours first.
Yeah.
And healed people can heal people.
Yes. And
so they're the 2 biggest things that I say. And it's truth in it. The Bible has scriptures on all the way through this. So Bible's my template.
Lucky, really appreciate the work that you do. For people who haven't had the chance to see it, Mana Atua Beyond the Patch, wonderful documentary which looks at the ministry and what God is doing through the work that you do. In terms of Kingdom Ministries, if people wanted to find out more, if they wanted to consider supporting the work that you do, what's the best way of doing that, Lucky?
We've got a website, it's Kingdom Ministries. Online, so they can go to that. They can get hold of me through Lucky Te Koha. I'm always available, just not at not at weirdo hours though. But, I'm always available. Lucky Te Koha. They can email me luckytekoha@gmail.com.
Yep.
And they can contact me through there.
Well, hey, Lucky, really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. Thank you for your ministry. Kia kaha. Thank you.
God bless.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.